Hello, my name is Jean Béliveau, and it is the 20th of August 2026, and I have this speech for you. I am not seeking the throne, I am ready to serve. Today, I would like to speak about a question that touches spirituality, responsibility, peace, and the future of humanity. A question that may seem enormous, uh, the question of spiritual leadership, and specifically, whether one human being might one day be called to serve as a guide in a mission extending beyond the boundaries of a single religion, culture, or philosophy. I would like to begin with an essential clarification. Uh, I am not claiming any throne. I am asking. I am not asking for power. I am not asking anyone to recognize me as superior of others. I am not asking any religion to abandon its beliefs, and I am not asking any human beings to give up their freedom of conscience. On the contrary, freedom of conscience is one of the foundations of my vision. Uh, in my conception of Alliance Harmonia, human beings may hold different beliefs. Some believe in God, some believe in several divinities, some have philosophical understanding of the divine, others are spiritual without the belonging to a religion, and some do not believe in a divine reality. Yet, all of these people belong to the same humanity. And it is this shared humanity that should allow us to enter into dialogue. The third temple has a particular meaning within the Jewish tradition. I deeply respect that reality. Uh, I do not claim to redefine from the outside what the third temple should mean for Judaism, uh, nor do I claim to appropriate a tradition that is not mine. But I can ask a philosophical question. What if certain sacred places could also become places of encounter? Places where no one would be asked to abandon their faith in order to enter into dialogue with another person. Places where people could speak about peace, justice, human dignity, a responsibility, spirituality, philosophy, and the future of our civilization. I believe the world needs more places where differences can meet without automatically becoming conflicts. But this does not mean that all religions must become identical. On the contrary, I believe diversity can be preserved. A Christian can remain Christian. A Jew can remain Jewish. A Muslim, a Muslim can remain Muslim. A Hindu can remain Hindu. A Buddhist can remain Buddhist. A person who believes in ancient divinities can preserve those beliefs. And a person who does not believe in God can remain free in that position. Freedom of conscience must remain complete. Alliance Harmonia would therefore not be a new religion intended to replace the others. It would instead, in my vision, be a space for cooperation, a space where tradition can meet, where philosophy can dialogue with spirituality, uh, where science can dialogue with ethics, where cultures can meet, and where human beings can remain at the center. Uh, it is in this context that I can speak about my own role. I define myself as the the universal sage of Alliance Harmonia. For me, this title does not mean that I possess all wisdom. It means that I accept a particular responsibility to seek connections between ideas, cultures, traditions, and the different dimensions of human experience. A sage should not seek to dominate. A sage should seek to understand. A guide should not impose his conscience upon others. He should help others exercise their own conscience. And a true leader should not ask, how can I be served? He should ask, how can I serve? This distinction is essential. If, if one day people, communities, or institutions considered that my experience, the reflection, and vision could contribute to a broader mission of peace and dialogue, I would be willing to listen to such a proposal. And if, within a legitimate, free, and democratic uh, framework, I were asked to serve in a guiding role, I would accept that responsibility. But I would not demand it. I would not impose myself. I would not seek to eliminate other candidates. I would not uh, seek to replace existing religious authorities. I would simply seek to serve. And if such a role were ever associated with a place as symbolically important as Jerusalem, it would have to be approached with the greatest care. Jerusalem belongs to an extraordinary, complex human and religious history. It's a sacred, no, that is, it is sacred to several traditions. It carries centuries of memory, faith, suffering, but and hope. No one, no individual should claim ownership of that history. No individual should decide alone what its future should be. Its future should be built through dialogue, respect, freedom, and whatever possible legit, 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 well, legitimate, yeah, uh, decisions made by people directly concerned. That is why I would never say this throne, this throne belongs to me. I would instead say, if humanity one day asks me to serve, I will be ready to answer that call. There is an imor- there is an enormous difference between these two statements. The first speaks of possession. The second speaks of responsibility. The first seeks power. The second accepts duty. And it is precisely this second conception of leadership that I must defend, that I wish to defend. I also believe that a universal guide should not need not need to. Oh, one moment, please. I'll finish the the speech in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay. Yes. Well, like I said, I also believe that a universal guide should not need to reject other people's beliefs in order to affirm its own. Within my own spirituality, I have my convictions. Yes, that's it. I can have my personal relationship with the divine. I can have my own symbols. I can have my own philosophy. But my personal convictions do not give me the right to impose them upon others. If I speak about God, I must respect those who do not believe in God. If I speak about several divinities, I must respect those who believe in one God. If I speak about a philosophical understanding of the divine, I must respect those whose religious understanding is different. The role of a unifying figure is precisely to create a space where these differences can exist. This is why I prefer to speak of universal dialogue rather than universal domination. I prefer to speak of service rather than power. I prefer to speak of responsibility rather than privileges. And I prefer to speak of wisdom rather than superiority. Perhaps humanity does not need a leader who claims to know everything that must be done. Perhaps, perhaps it needs people who are capable of listening, of thinking, of bringing people together, of recognizing their own limitations, and of seeking solutions rather with others. Yes, and of seeking solutions with others. This is also why I believe technology can play an important role. Today, artificial intelligence allows people, or rather human beings, to access extraordinary amounts of knowledge. It can help us organize our ideas, translate, research, communicate with people who speak other languages. It can it can even help us prepare speeches and explore different ways of presenting an idea. But technology must not become our conscience. It can be a tool. It must not become our master. Human judgment must remain essential. And even when I work with artificial intelligence to prepare my reflections and speeches, the responsibility for what I choose to say remains mine. I must answer for my words. I must examine them. I must stand behind them, and I must accept criticism when it is offered honestly. That is what being ready to serve means to me. It does not mean being perfect. It does not mean being superior. It does not mean possessing all the answers. It means accepting an additional responsibility when that responsibility is entrusted to us. So, if one day people ask me, Jean, are you ready to serve? My answer would be simple: yes. I should be ready to serve. Or rather, yeah, I would be ready to serve. Yes, I would be ready to serve. But only with respect to, or for freedom of conscience, respect for traditions, respect for the law, respect for people, respect for those who do not share my vision, and above all, respect for humanity itself. I am therefore not seeking the throne. I am not seeking glory. I am not seeking to replace others. I remain what I am today, the universal sage of Alliance Harmonia. And if one day humanity considers that this experience can contribute to a greater mission, I will be ready to answer, not to rule, not but to serve, not to impose, but to engage in dialogue, not to divide, but to bring people together. And perhaps in the end, the true symbol of a spiritual guide is not the seat upon which he sits, it is the responsibility he accepts to carry. And thank you very much, and good night.